G'day guys, Adam Grocke from Johnston Grocke. I've got Sam from Ardento here as well. So mate, thanks for your time.
No worries, thanks for having me.
We've done a high level sort of helicopter view of technology and how we can leverage it and what it means.
Yeah, absolutely.
In this video, this is number 1 of 3, we wanted to take a deep dive and probably start off with data, and we touched in the first video about the value of data and how data's the new gold.
Yeah, absolutely. I think every business in this day and age is ultimately a tech business, regardless of whether you are actually generating revenue from tech. You are leveraging tech to be more efficient, and part of that is really the data that you're capturing, and I think all data is valuable, small, medium or large business, and having some really great systems around to be able to collect quality data that you have, whether it be from your prospects or whether it be from your customers, your suppliers and your partners, and really just getting that into a central place, because once you start building that database, it's easily to compound on, and that's really going to add some value to your business.
Yeah. And just to be clear as well, data is not a scary thing that sits in cyberspace.
No,
data is as simple as first name, last name, mobile number.
Yeah, everyone has data. I mean, it seems very sci-fi when you talk about it like that, but yeah, absolutely. Look, it's really just having names and email addresses and contact phone numbers. I mean, these are things that you've gone out in your business and built relationships with people. And if they're willing to share this detail with you, then of course you can capture that, and that becomes really part of that marketing base. But it's when you extend that data set, so from beyond the demographic information, to start to categorize some of this, so past cycles, buying patterns, things like that. That's when you can really make some great changes or leverage that data in a really strategic way. So for marketing, for example, or for analytical purposes and things like that.
And it's quite an interesting journey when you map this out from a strategic perspective, because you really got to have a look at what data do we want, and also at what stage do we want to collect that. Because if I'm going to a prospect and I'm talking to them and I'm like, oh, hey, how you going? I want your first name, last name, mobile phone, age of your kids, what are you interested in, all this information, they're not going to give that up.
No, that's right. And nobody really wants to hand over a lot of information on any initial sort of any initial meeting. I think it's about building in a compounding process, so that you've got a bit of a process where you're collecting some initial information and building out profiles, whether it's about an individual or whether it's about a business or a company, and then having a good process and some systems in place where that can be added to over time. And it's about building that profile over time, so you've got great quality information that stays up to date, and that you can do something with it.
Yeah, if you're a startup business, or you're starting a business from scratch, or you've moved out and you've separated and you've got the luxury of building your systems and processes from scratch, very easy in terms of you've got a clean slate.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you can literally go online and sign up for a CRM system with your credit card inside 30 seconds and start capturing that data. And if you are a startup business, do that, because it's the easiest thing to do, and you can build great data collection habits early on. It's obviously when you're a more mature business, or your business has been using older technology and you're moving, then that does complicate things. But the message is really just to put data at the forefront and really make sure that you are putting some processes and systems around to really make sense of that information, and make sure it's good quality information. Becoming a data-driven business is really the goal of any modern business should be, and they all have different uses of that information. But if you can become data-driven, then you're truly a modern business.
So for me, there's 3 parts to data, and one of those is what do we want to get? The second one is how do we use it? And then the third one is actually what do we get in return? What is our return on our investment from doing that properly? So I just want to touch on that a little bit, because for quite a mature business, so they've got a couple thousand clients, traditionally that data is going to be quite dirty, or there's going to be conflicts within that data.
Yeah, true.
So fixing it and starting with good foundations is important. So I understand there's a quick fix and then there's a more of a longer term fix.
Definitely, I think there's a couple of options there. So definitely, I mean, data and your database as such is going to take some work to keep up to date, and that's going to take some time to be able to do that. Now, there are lots of data cleansing services, and if you're willing to pay for a service, a quick fix would be something like cleaning addresses, for instance, making sure there. It's also about educating your staff or your team members that why the data is important. Because if they don't have any context around it, then asking people to just keep names and email addresses up to date may seem like a non-important task. So it's about educating those guys about that, and these are all sorts of things that you can do now. I guess there's also tools that will allow you to do data cleansing, and I guess any quality systems now will have things like deduplication, which is an interesting term, which basically just means can we go through the database and match records up and then maybe merge them together. These are sorts of functions that maybe if you are looking for a new system or you are experimenting with what's out there, they're going to help keep your data clean.
Okay, so quick fix for a business, go and get a data cleanse done.
Yep.
Approximate cost for say £2,000.
Yeah, look, I mean, you can probably pay, up to sort of just even $10 for 100 records. It's something as cheap as that. There's plenty of overseas businesses that do that. There's some that you can do. So for 2,000 records, you're talking under $1,000 definitely to clean that data. Keeping in mind that the data can only be cleansed if it's publicly available information, so addresses really, and some other major information. If it's things like names and so forth, then that can really only be done by the people that have access to that data. But look, definitely using a data cleansing service or even a data matching service can be a great way to expedite that process. Yeah.
And then I think a longer term fix for some businesses as well is build into your process and train your team when you're communicating with your clients. Okay, check some of the records. I don't know. Whenever I go into a doctor's facility or office, the first thing they say, is this up to date? Yeah, is this still up to date? Is this still up to date?
I think that's a really great example. Is medical puts a lot of emphasis on quality of data, but if you can bring some of that into your own business, the same thing. If there's someone who is a front of house or a point of contact, then it doesn't take much for them to ask really quickly just to validate their information that's in your system. The name, the email address, the address, and things like that. Also, when designing and setting up your software, you want to use things that allow you to control how people are going to use the software. So things like making fields required, making fields validated, meaning you can't enter in someone's name into a phone number field. These sorts of things are just tricks that will manipulate your user into entering in the data properly. And as well, educating and just making sure that people are aware of why we're doing this and sort of training the team around that.
And it's amazing how many people in a CRM system or wherever they're collecting that data will put the phone number and then the person's name after it.
Yeah, that's a super common thing we see all the time when we're setting people up and we do a lot of data migration from one system to the other. There will be this all the time. And that, I would say, is in a system with maybe a little bit of poor design where the phone number field is a text field. You should not be able to enter a name into a number field. That's a really basic design that will allow you to be able to get a bit more cleansed up. Doesn't mean they're going to enter the right phone number, but it means they won't put a name where a phone number should be.
Now, some people are probably watching this going, okay, well, what's the big deal about that? Now, when you want scale and when you start talking to your clients and marketing to them, the problem is you go, well, I want to know every client that's between the ages of 30 and 40 that is a female, and I want to advertise, I want to send them a text message about this special. That's going to show up as an error, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it all comes down to what you're going to do with the data. I mean, if you're just looking at it on the screen, humans, we can interpret that and we can know that that's a phone number, that's a name. Software can't. It gets confused. So if you do want to do things like SMS automation, if you want to market to segments of your data, having the information clean and in the right spot is just going to give you a lot more depth to that. You say, why does it matter? It maybe doesn't matter when you've got 500, 1,000, even 2,000 records. It certainly matters when you've got 10,000, 50,000 and 100,000. And obviously everyone wants their business to grow. And what seems simple and insignificant now will surely become a bigger problem, and it gets a lot harder to fix when the scale is increased. So yeah, having a great data strategy early on is definitely going to pave the way to make things a lot easier down the track.
Now, a lot of business owners are going, okay, what's my ROI? What's the return I'm going to get in my investment, not only of time but effort into going through this process? Well, what if you can say like the top 2 or 3 ROI that you've seen businesses get from having clean data?
Sure, I guess if we use sort of CRM data as a starting point, because that's data that a lot of people would be familiar with. So I guess an immediate ROI is being able to understand your customers better. So where do they come from? Are they a specific demographic? Are they a specific age range? I mean, these are some areas. Do they purchase some products over others? Why do we have more success in one area than the other? Once you have that information, you can really make clear business decisions based on data rather than just, I think we should do this in our strategy. And I think a lot of business people do that, and a lot of people get very far on gut, and that's great. But I think if you can turn that into being data driven, so targeted marketing and really understanding that, and also just being able to make operational decisions about your business in a timely manner, rather than having to wait for the accountant at the end of the quarter to give you some information. If you've got some of that information on hand and you can make a decision about how your operational processes need to pivot or change, you're going to save money and you're going to save time. So it's just that gives you the power and the flexibility to do things quicker.
And when, from a marketing perspective, when you can segment your database as well, you can actually give them relevant information, which means they're going to be more engaged, they're more likely to read it, they're more likely to take action on your call to action, because it's actually relevant to either their age group, their geographical location, or whatever they're interested in, or their behaviours for the business.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is send out a blanket email and then people unsubscribe because they're not getting value. You need to cut through the noise, so you need to be able to serve people information that is valuable to them and give them some value. As soon as you do that, then their opinion of you and your brand is going to increase. They're going to see you as an expert source of information in that specific area, and definitely segmenting the data is really going to help to do that.
So you've got that marketing, which is really pushing the growth or the scaling of your business. You've also got value that I think a lot of people actually overlook, and it's the value of if you were to sell your business, the value of having that clean data.
And I think you hit it on the head, but people always undervalue this, and definitely if you do want to sell your business, one of the things that is going to really underpin a lot of the value is what data do you have? How accessible is it? How easy is this data to access and draw on and create reports from? Because this is something that any modern business needs to have, and if you've got a great set of systems in place, really clean data, all this segmentation available for whoever is going to take the business on, that's going to add value to that business without a doubt. They're going to see that as a higher value, and ultimately you'll be able to sell for a better price.
Exactly right. And also the opportunity that business acquiring you can see, and the potential is going to be much greater, because they can go, well, you've got 80% of your clients are my target market, that if I acquire you, I can sell them this extra widget or this product or service and target them.
Creates visibility, so they can see the potential. It's not just hearsay. So it's based on fact and information, and I think especially that if you're looking at what new markets and new opportunities, if you are acquiring a business, having that data is going to know where there are some maybe green fields that previous business people weren't overtaking. So,
mate, thank you very much for your time. That's been very insightful, and hopefully people have got some value from that.
Hopefully so.
If they've got any questions, feel free to contact us or yourself, and we'll put your details at the bottom of the video. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Adam. Cheers.
Cool.